Do you know what? I didn't even notice that because it's so played out.
Yeah,
it's
the most
it's
80s thing
literally it was literally invisible to me because it was
It's
just
the
like
most
yeah,
80s thing ever.
yeah.
It's no longer interesting. It's no longer. I can imagine like when people first started doing that. No, if only
tell
he
us
could.
what it is.
Oh my god, we need to fight. Like
now
now,
it's
just
just like,
fast forward, bro.
It's so interesting that our family can drive us crazy. And what's more interesting is that even from the grave, they can do things that make you want to kill them. The sibling's mother, by the name of Laura, had been playing her children. Yes, taking them for idiot. She had one of her children, being her eldest daughter Beth, footing all her bills. Beth had been struggling to make ends meet. Meanwhile, she was saving the £2,000 that her rich son Michael had been sending her each month. This had been going on for years to the point that the second bank account had in excess of £130,000. Now I thought, okay, fair enough, it's a lump sum that the children can split between themselves. An amount of money that could help soften the blow of their mother's untimely departure from this world. I was wrong. Their mother's last dying wish was that all 132,000 would be sent to charity.
That's insane.
This obviously enraged the children. But can you really claim to be a good person when you are enraged because your mother has done something of measurable good?
Yes, you can be enraged. Absolutely.
Pause this video right now. Go and read Home is Where the Bodies Are by
Jeneva Rose. And when you've read it, you can join us for the discussion.
Or you can join us anyway because we're going to tell you all about it. My name's Elijah.
And I'm Joseph, and welcome to the Aisha Library. You know, I didn't know if you actually knew what the title of the book was. We haven't said it. We haven't said the title.
I scrolled to the top of the document quickly.
Yeah, it gets like that.
But yeah, and it's funny because the title was something that I was wanting to speak about anyway.
Oh, is it? Do you know what? There's been times where I've forgotten the author, which is why I've started writing the author's name in the title just in case.
I thought you were supposed to do that. I mean, I don't do it.
No, I was doing it raw at first.
It's the best way.
It's only way.
Yeah, so can you claim to be a good person if you're enraged that your mother's doing something of measurable...
chairs. Them fucking kids getting all that money. That's an interesting question, you know. I'm going to be real. That's that'll catch a lot of people because they'll be in two minds about whether you should or shouldn't. But, you know, come on. 130,000 pounds. You didn't leave not one penny of it to your children. So you sent it to charity. You know what charity means. That means paying a rich person.
I would have liked for the author to put the decision in the children's hands. It would have been interesting for us to challenge the idea of carrying out one's last wishes or always respect the dead's wishes.
Yeah.
So it would have been good for the author to allow the children to decide, and then you got Beth saying, no, fuck them, or one of them saying, fuck, I need it, I want it, and then, you know, if they would have gone through it, that would have been a character building opportunity, of course.
100%. It would have been a totally different book, but still a good one, though.
Yeah.
I'd read that.
So what did you think of the book?
I thought it was a killer idea, to be honest. I thought it was a killer idea.
I think it was like one of these ideas that seem like good ideas, but it's almost impossible to write a good book. So what I mean by that is the husbands. Good idea.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of level that I'm talking about in terms of it's always the execution that lets it down in these situations.
But this wasn't the easiest book to execute.
No, I mean, killer ideas never are. I mean, that's kind of the risk of going. That's the kind of, you know, something safe.
Yeah.
The appeal of
book.
yeah,
So
the appeal of going for something safe is like, yeah, I know, I've read this 1,000 times. I know exactly what happens in this book, you know.
So what did I think of this book, I hear you ask? It was a decent book. It wasn't boring. I think the author can write well and can keep the audience engaged, but there was no punchline. It's like the blurb was good and now I'm interested, but where's the goods? Because they never come. Reading this book was like when you give it the big talk to her, but then when the time comes, you can't even get it up. Or you bust before you can get it in.
Crazy.
It's like, is that it?
Is it in yet?
So, did you come?
But
but yeah, this was like a palate cleanser book. You read it in between the other books just to have something different. Because the book was kind of a waste of time, which I think is probably too harsh. But it's like, what was the purpose of reading this book?
This is a book club book. For you to read it, go back to your book club, talk about it with your book club friends.
And then forget about it forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like husband and wife. That sort of book. Do you remember that book? K.L. Slater.
I remember that. Obviously, I know.
Remember the alleyway?
Slater.
Someone was killed in the alleyway and the blackmail.
Oh, yeah. That book. See, I've already forgotten it. Just lets you know.
So the book starts with Beth comforting her dying mother Laura in her last moments. Her other two siblings, Nicole and Michael, are racing from the other side of the country to get there in time to say their goodbyes. This is a POV story. And I initially wanted to say that the way they added in the flashback was creative. In the 90s, when the children were growing up, Laura, their mother, tended to film everything. So as the siblings who are now adults would watch the old footage, the author could use that as a means to flash back to the past. Right? Which is the most creative way of having a flashback that we've seen to date. Well, it was until the author gave up the creativity and just blatantly, randomly flashed back to Laura's POV from years ago. She didn't even try and link it into any of her children watching the tapes. We just randomly flashed back to Laura so that we could find out what really happened. If that's the case, and the children aren't capable of playing the detective, what's the point of having them? Why not make Laura the main character and get rid of the kids? And that's another thing. Why did we need point of views from every sibling? It just confused things. They're all in the same room doing the same thing at the same time. There was no point of that. So I like the idea of them having flashbacks, them sitting down and watching the tapes, and then we kind of we go into the TV and see what's cool.
So nice way to sneak a flashback in.
Exactly. But then, after the first flashback that happened, it's almost like the author was like, well, we know what we're doing here, and they just jump back. And then, so that's, it started off as something creative, and then it started to become overused. Yeah. And all the main characters of the book started to seem a bit pointless.
Well, remember what we said with characters, less is more, especially in books, and that's POVs as well. Yeah. That's honestly POVs as well. If you chop and change too many POVs, people just stop giving a shit about any of them.
I did like the fact that it was only 3 characters, and we kind of knew what was going on. I never got lost and whatnot, but we need more characters. No, we don't. We just needed more. Something. The story wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't doing anything.
I like what you said about they're all in the same room. Like we definitely don't need to chop and change the two. They're doing the same thing, looking at the same screen. So,
pick one character and stick with them, especially if it's something like this.
So it's a murder mystery. Does Frida McFadden know there's a new author stepping onto her turf? Siblings Beth, Michael, and Nicole are headed back to Wisconsin after the death of their mother, Laura. Beth, however, is hiding a secret. 7 years ago, their father Brian disappeared with only a note to their mother left in his wake. Beth's secret is her mother's last words. Your father didn't disappear. Don't trust. And then, of course, she dies on the last word, because if she could get one more word out, this book's runtime would be 20 minutes instead of 8.5 hours. A cheap method of suspense for sure, but I'm happy to give it a benefit of the doubt. So I just didn't feel like that was a good way to start.
Do you know what? I didn't even notice that because it's so played out.
It's the most 80s thing ever.
It was literally invisible to me because it was
It's
just
the
like
most 80s thing ever. It's no longer interesting. It's no longer. I can imagine when people first started doing that. No, if only he could. Oh my god, we need to find. Now just fast forward. Right?
I like the addition of Lucas into the story. Lucas is Beth's boy next door, her childhood love. He is also coincidentally the brother of the little girl that went missing and was never found all those years ago. Lucas being romantically involved with Beth adds a layer of complication. It's an opportunity for Beth to feel morally obligated to tell him about the newfound information involving her parents and his dead 12-year-old sister. I also said Nicole the crackhead, who's Beth's sister, definitely has something to do with the murder. Why else will 2 parents cover up a murder? It has to be for their child. So obviously I was wrong with my prediction. Yeah. Well, at least my calculation was correct, but my answer was wrong. But that leads me to my next thought. While reading this book, I thought to myself, my girlfriend Joseph, she's more loyal than probably 99.9% of the people on the planet. But I don't think she'd help me get rid of a 12-year-old girl's body. Should I get rid of her now for her disloyalty? Surely you should want to
preemptively.
Surely you should. Wait, actually, no, not preemptively, because I don't plan to do it. But yeah, I walked myself into that. 100%. But yeah, surely you should want to be with somebody who would do that for you, that would do anything for you.
Well, as you know, we went through this earlier a little bit, and I kind of agreed with you, to be honest, because I feel like in a marriage, you have. You say death do us part, and it's like you're each other's teammates sort of thing, and it should
almost
be
like
us two against the world.
It's almost like your marriage is above the law, because in some countries a husband can't testify against a wife.
That's a great point, that is a great point.
Think of that earlier, right?
And do you know what I mean? Oh my God, it's always the way, you think of a killer point,
it's too late.
Or a killer comeback when it's done already. But I think a lot of us would want a partner that's gonna hold it down for us no matter what, because there's times, as righteous as you feel as a person, there's times when, your morals don't align with the law. And there's
Always.
I don't want to sound like I'm inciting rebellion here, but there's times when you have to say, down with the government. They did it in France. They chopped off all the rich people's heads or whatever they did. So, even the best people.
It's time to act.
It's time to rise up. Is this supposed to be a murder mystery or a sadistic game of some sort? As they divide up their parents' belongings, the siblings find a stack of VHS tapes in their mother's Wisconsin house. After playing a tape from 1999, which I hear is the year that all the best people were born in, they find their father wearing a bloody shirt and talking with their mother about getting rid of a body. I guess the mantra here is if you and your wife murder somebody, definitely don't make a home movie of it for your children to find one day. That's what makes me wonder if this isn't some intricate posthumous game set up by the parents. Because I was thinking, who records a home? Some people don't even have home movies at all.
No, but the way they said it, like she came out of the house and then just bumped. She was, bumped into.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I just had to zoom out and go back or whatever. You see blood on the shirt. I was thinking this has got to be some kind of sadistic, sick, twisted game that the parents are playing. There's no way you just.
I wish it was gone in that direction. That would make some form of sense instead of the way it went. Because the way it went, it was just like, what was the point of this? One of the things I like about this book is that the siblings are always beefing. They never miss an opportunity to slag each other off. Yeah. You're a junkie. Well, you're a snob. Well, nobody likes you. It made for an entertaining read. Funnily enough, I read some Goodread reviews and people seemed to hate the dysfunctional family element. They also said the book was boring. I never really found the book boring. There are more than enough entertaining elements. There was a dead girl mystery. We had the Lucas love story. Nicole's drug issues. The siblings constantly beefing. We had to deal with the deceased mother's dying wishes. We had the dad's miraculous response to Beth's email. And we even had the burglary of the house.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how anybody can say it was boring. And this is why I would say I'd read more from her, the author, because she does know how to keep the audience engaged. Was you engaged or did you think it was boring?
I didn't think it was boring. There was questions I had, and I found there was a lot of coincidence in the book as well, which I always have a problem when there's too much coincidence. But I wouldn't say bored. And to your point about people hating the dysfunctional family aspect of it, that's quite strange to me because people will happily read books, about the most
drama.
Not only drama, but it's like the most like fake sibling relationships ever, where like nothing goes wrong between them or whatever, and it's like the most artificial sibling relationships, but as soon as they get something real, they don't want it. Which is so strange to me.
I remember even reading reviews of the Paradise Problem, and people were complaining about the husband's family and how they were all just horrible and this, that.
That's so weird to me. They'll lap it up when it's people called, "Oh, how you doing, big bro? How you doing, little sis?" They'll lap it up, which is the most fake thing ever. Let me go again
then, because I've got more than you and this. Tyson, is the dysfunctional family trope just a cheap way to fool us into thinking that the main characters are complex? Beth, who is one of the main characters, and I think the oldest sibling, openly despises Michael, mainly because she is jealous of all the love and attention he got from their parents. Beth is also bitter towards Nicole. Then we have Nicole, who's a recovering drug addict, chasing remission. And then we have Michael, who's seemingly the most normal out of the bunch. That should probably be a red flag in future. If there's someone that seems normal, the author's almost like saying, don't look at him.
Yeah, misdirection.
Yeah. The problem with the dysfunctional family trope is that we aren't rooting for any of these characters. And when you aren't rooting for them, is there any reason to read on? If you aren't rooting for any characters, then you don't have any vested interest in the story. Not even Beth was bloody interested in the story. She couldn't even be bothered to go and try her and find her own father. Do you remember they found the IP address or some rubbish like that?
Oh, I had a huge issue with that. But
another thing I found annoying was the fact that the children kept saying, "I can't believe what Mum did," and to her friend as well. It was her friend's daughter. Like, what was she supposed to do? Tell on her husband for her friend? The only thing I'd say is that we are dilly-dallying and there's been no advancements in the story, only character building and the intensifying of the love interest. It's almost like we are wasting time creatively till the end of the book where all will be revealed in a concise, coherent way.
Almost like. There's a lot of coincidence in this story and I'm not sure how I feel about it. So Lucas, Beth's ex-boyfriend, just happens to also be the brother of the woman who went missing in 1999. Cool. Somebody breaks into their house and ransacks it, but also doesn't take the incriminating VHS tapes. Cool. So especially with the IP address thing as well. Listen, look, I'm not going to pretend to know how computers and IP addresses work and all these sorts of things, but didn't they trace it to like the room that it was in or something like that? I'm pretty sure IP addresses, like, would our IP address be different from the next door neighbor's IP address?
I don't know, mate. I don't know how it works, but it was.
And I was like, I call bullshit for sure. If I'm proved wrong, I'm proved wrong. But I said I call bullshit.
What was the purpose of the whole email business?
I don't know,
Remember,
because it's like
the dad was dead, so that means Michael must have sent the email.
Yeah.
Why? There's no fucking reason.
Or forgot to put it in there.
Yeah, they all forgot to tell us why he did that, because there was no reason for that.
Banter.
Apart from us, it was just for us to think that the dad was miraculously still alive somehow.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna put a plot device in, you kind of need to tie up all the loose ends.
At this point, Laura might as well be the main character, and then she can just show us what happened all those years ago when she bumped into her husband who had the dead body of a 12-year-old girl. If Laura was the main character, the story would be more genuine, because right now it's pretending to be about the siblings when it really isn't. Beth, Nicole, and Michael didn't find anything out. They didn't really do anything for the entire story. What was the actual point of having them in there? What was the purpose of Michael responding to Beth's email masquerading as the father? What was the purpose of Nicole needing to pop into her motel, where we had the Michael fight scene? Are those more random cheap tactics for the author to give us action scenes to keep us entertained? So the more and more I read this book, I started to see through the author's deceptions. This book was like a vegan burger. It looks like it's going to be good. It even smells like real beef. But once you get into it, you know you've been duped.
Great.
So it was like, it was a nothing burger.
Plant.
It was a nothing burger, mate. Like, we had some things going on, but nothing added up to anything.
Which is crazy, because it can't be less work to constantly try to attempt to bamboozle the audience than it can be to just write a good plot.
Yeah, but this is why I said, because the idea came to her on the toilet. I know. What if I found out that my parents had killed somebody, and then we thought, I know, I'm gonna make that into a story. But some ideas, it's difficult, because remember, the three main character siblings, they were pointless to the story. We just needed to know what happened in Laura's point of view. That's literally all we needed to know.
So it was marking time. It was marking time to
exactly.
find out.
So as I said, the idea just doesn't work in story form, or you have to be very good to make it work. You gotta have children have to be detectives. They literally have to follow the breadcrumb of trails, and even then, it's a bit miraculous. Do you get what I'm saying?
So this would have worked if it was a movie, and the siblings were being played by some famous funny people. I think
the best thing they could have done is they find the tape, they turn the tape over to the police. The backlash from the public and everybody starts hating them, people trying to kill them. I think that we go in that direction instead of just telling us what happened, because through Laura's point of view, because it makes the main characters pointless.
Laura's letter to Nicole. Upon opening her mother's letter, Nicole finds that her mother has left her with the words, "You're not the child I wanted, but the one I deserved." Which I was like, that's an incredibly harsh thing to. That's like that's your closing thoughts for your child. This is what you will leave her with. Elijah, what do you think about parents being honest, having favourites, etc.? Because what if that's the honest truth? You're not what I wanted. Because, realistically, in this world of broken condoms, there are many people.
Look, I'm not a parent, so I don't know, but I think it's only natural to have a favourite, surely.
Well, that's what
I
I've
don't think
always
there's
thought.
anything wrong with it. I think you should probably try and treat them equal.
Yeah.
In terms of like gifts and this, that, and the other. But I don't think there's anything wrong with you liking spending time with one of them more than the other.
Yeah, there's nothing that says you can't.
I don't know.
I mean, realistically, let's say you're into Formula One and you have a son and a daughter, and the son's into Formula One and the daughter isn't. Realistically,
but the rebuttal to that is that doesn't mean you love them more, though.
Yeah, no, of course it doesn't. But I don't know. Based on what she said here, this isn't like watching TV or enjoying past that. She said, "You're not the one I wanted."
I had a question that I wanted to ask you. What if, let's say, siblings received letters from a parent that's just deceased, and it was like, "Open this after I've died," or something like that, and they all stand there in the house. The mother's dead upstairs, and two of them open the letter, and one of them say, "I don't want to know," throw it in the fire. What would you say to that? Is that like crazy? Is that a non-conforming individual?
That is crazy. Yeah, it is crazy.
Has
it
he
is
done
crazy.
something wrong?
It is crazy. I think he's done something wrong. But again, it's their choice. That was meant for them, not for anyone else. So if they read it and then never showed anybody, that's the same thing from my perspective as them burning it. Because I'm never going to find out anyways.
But
having said that,
is that somebody you can't trust?
Yeah, no, 100%, because you've made a spur of the moment decision. That's permanent. Those last words, you can never get those back. That's done. It's done.
Crazy, isn't
If
it?
you make that kind of permanent decision on a spur of the moment feeling, even to just like, oh, I don't want to read it or whatever, or you put it away or you reject, like that's one thing. To say, yeah, man, for it's permanent, you know, can't get those back. If you wake up one day, you know, you had a dream. Oh, I want to know what.
Yeah, but remember,
done, remember, no one knows.
If you open the, no, but if you open the letter and you read it, that's permanent too.
That's what it was meant for. It was meant for you, you know.
No, but you have been controlled. It's almost
Look,
like
maybe, but you're not gonna listen. Look, I could see you burn that letter.
Don't you think Michael would have? It would have been better for Michael to burn that letter. Surely.
Well, listen, you could hindsight's 2020, as they say. But you know, you will. They say, dying will only ruin one day. Worrying can ruin every day. You know, and wondering about what someone could have said. That could plague your thoughts every single day of your life because it's just the uncertainty of it. But, even if you know and it's something terrible, like saying, I never wanted you, but, you know, I guess you're not so bad.
So what if you're one of the siblings, let's say you was in a position where one of your siblings grabbed all the letters and threw it in there and said, you don't want that.
Nah,
is that something that you could never talk to someone again?
I don't know if I would say I would never talk to them again, but that is incredibly difficult to get past. That's incredibly... I say we just have a good old-fashioned punch-up. Yeah.
It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah, fisticuffs.
You just can't get that back.
You're just a...
Sorry, it was grief. I don't know.
Listen, you can't use that excuse. You can't explain your way out of that one. You can't explain your way out of this one. It's permanent. It's permanent. No one knows what's in it. There's no one to ask. It's not even like the lawyer. You could say, is there like a... No, it's permanent. Yeah, that's bordering on unforgivable. That's bordering on... You've taken this person's last words to me. They crafted this, labored over this.
Yeah.
What if it was something that like healed your soul? Like, what if it was like you've always been good enough?
What if there was some chicken soup?
Do you understand what I'm saying? What if there's money in there? Yeah. You've always been good enough, Elijah. I know you thought you weren't good enough, but you have been. And now you're complete. You could, closure. You can move on. I never robbed you of that just to be a. Nah, come on, you can't do that.
Yeah, this book is too mediocre. I'm waiting for a bombshell that never came. We knew that the dad had something to do with the dead body. This was confirmed in the beginning of the book, or even the blurb. But I thought maybe the mystery will be revealed in some clever manner. You know, the siblings will have to work together to put the clues together to find out what happened all those years ago.
Yeah.
Nope, all is revealed in one confession letter written by the mother. But at the very least, maybe the bodies are hidden in some clever manner. Nope. As the title suggests, they're buried at the family home.
Stop trying to give her credit.
Why would you do that? Coming from the author's perspective, Joseph, what's your take on that? Why would you do that? You've given us nothing for the whole book.
Yeah.
And then you've told us where the bodies are in the fucking title of the book.
Yeah.
As well, on top of it.
Yeah, no.
What was the fucking point? And did you see that twist in lowercase? Letters coming. What twist? There was no twist.
That's what I'm wondering.
Michael being the killer.
Oh,
and this and the other.
Well, look,
Did you suspect him?
I think making a man be the killer was a cheap shot. To be honest, everyone's gonna. If there's one man, two women, everyone's always gonna think, the man's.
I didn't think it was him. I didn't know what I thought. To be honest with you,
I thought
the dad was coming back. I thought the dad had some reason to be gone.
I kind of agree with you. I think she came up with this idea of sperm moment. She thought this would be a good way to start a book, and in the book, it transformed as she kept writing it. And some authors, they say, I let the book write itself, sort of thing.
Don't do that.
Well, listen, it's not for me to say whether we should or shouldn't, but this book was shit. So take from that what you will. But I don't know about the plot. The plot was pretty much non-existent.
Yeah. We literally marked time until we got to Laura's point of view, so we could figure out what happened. And that's it. And then she gave us the confession letter in the end, which stated everything. And that's another thing. Why did Michael get put in prison on some dead bitch's confession letter? There was no proof for anything. Yeah, they found bodies in the back garden, but Laura literally admitted that the dad had something to do with them.
It's not even by force that the bad guy must go to prison at the end of the book as well. This is something I have a huge problem with. We saw this in We Play Games, where I said that would have been a beautiful ending if Ben had just got away with it. Like, it's not by force you have to show the bad guy. Sometimes the bad guy doesn't go to prison. That's reality. Sometimes the killer gets away with it. It's reality. So I don't think it was necessary. And if someone goes to prison, you kind of have to, you got to facilitate that. It's got to be believable. Quote of the day. Behind every great man is a woman rolling her eyes.
Okay.
Played it safe on that one.
Mine was better.
If you can stop hiccuping, get through it.
Quote of the day. You weren't hard to love, just too easy to leave behind when something better came along.
That's insane, bro. That's insane. That is insane. Wait, say that one more time.
You weren't hard to love, just too easy to leave behind when something better came along.
I'm dead. He swapped that bitch out like an iPhone, bro. Upgraded as soon as a new one came out.
Oh, gosh.
Damn.
Oh, I hope that makes you feel better.
Hit dog, go holler. When they say hit dog, go holler. If anyone's upset about that, we know why. Because there was a bitch that got left behind.
Oh, just listen,
Nah,
guys.
that's diabolical.
Till next time.
Till next time.